former police officers involved in the death of George Floyd has been sentenced again to multiple years behind bars. J. Alexander King took a plea deal back in October to avoid a state criminal trial. The ex-Minneapolis officer is already serving a federal sentence related to the death. Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster for the latest on all this. So, Shaq, walk us through what we just saw happen in court today and what this means for King's time behind bars.
Well, King's time behind bars will not change, and it's largely in part to that federal sentence that you mentioned. He was already serving 3 years in prison, but today the state court confirmed essentially the plea deal that was reached between King and state prosecutors. He is now convicted of second-degree manslaughter. He will serve a 3.5-year prison sentence, and he will serve that as he's serving that 3-year federal sentence. I know those two numbers are different, but based on state law, this will essentially mirror, it will make equal the time that he spends behind bars. King, again, is the officer who had his knee on George Floyd's back as Derek Chauvin held his knee to George Floyd's neck back in May of 2020, Savannah.
And also, Shaq, I want to ask you about another officer, not either of these, not King nor Chauvin, but another officer who did not plead guilty. What should we expect with his trial?
Yeah, there you're talking about Tu Tao, and this was the officer who, if you remember that video, was interacting with those bystanders who were pleading with officers at the time. He was the one interacting with them the most. He was also found guilty in that federal sentence, is in federal prison right now, but he says that he can't plead guilty for the state charges that he's facing. He says it would be lying to the court. So instead, we're going to see an unusual move where there's not going to be a standard trial with a jury and with witnesses coming up and taking the stand. Instead, all the evidence will be handed to a judge. There will be written closing arguments, and the judge will make a decision. We'll expect that decision to come within about 2.5 months.